Yep, thank you very much, John. One more 15-minute race then to entertain you with here this afternoon. We've just about got time to get it in before the 6:30 curfew as well, which is good news. The MG Cockshoot Cup and the Hickford Construction Limited MG Metro Cup. The Cockshoot Cup cars, as always, start at the front. So Christopher Greenbank, who won race 1 in the MGF, starts on pole alongside the rapid starting Keith Egar. He should really lead into turn 1, all things being equal. Then the ZS of Carl Green starts alongside the ZR of David Coulthard on row 2. 4 different shapes of MG filling out the top 4 positions on the grid. Laura Farrow and Mark Bellamy will share the 3rd row ahead of James Johnson and Phil Rigby, with Helen Waddington and Eliza Seville completing the top 10. Row 6 for Stanley Dixon and Leon Wignall. There's then a gap and a 10-second delay before the MG Metro race will start, and it is the race 1 winner Jack Ashton who should this time have Matthew Simpson for company on row 1. Matthew didn't take the race 1 start from the front row of the grid, but still carved his way through convincingly to finish 2nd in the class. If he starts on the front row this time, he could give Jack Ashton a real run for his money. Then it's Benjamin Young with Mark Wilson alongside him, row 2 of the Metro. The 3rd row for Tim Shooter and John Moore. Then Richard Garrard and Les Tyler behind them. Then it's Tim Davis and Jonathan McCord, Phil Goodwin and Andrew Houston, with Emma Cross at the rear of the field. So we had some really good racing first time around today. Like I said, Christopher Greenbank won in the MGF and won in the end by 6.2 seconds, but it was quite a bit closer than that in the early stages. Keith Egar, in the first race of the day, came through from 7th on the grid to lead into turn 1. Did hold that advantage for a lap or 2 before eventually Christopher Greenbank was able to break through into the lead and pull away. But the MG Midget, starting 7th on the grid, got into the lead by turn 1. That's why I said that he really should lead into turn 1 this time around, because he starts on this occasion on the front row of the grid with clear track in front of him. The lightweight rear-wheel drive midget, and all rear-wheel drive front row this time though, whereas race 1 it was a pair of ZRs that started on the front row together. This time it is a pair of rear-wheel drive cars with several decades between them, but both built to very much the same sort of philosophy, and they should both be rocket ships on the launch. Interesting question actually to see who does win that battle into turn 1. Within the Metros, we do, I'm delighted to say, have Matthew Simpson on the front row of the grid, so he is going to take that 2nd place grid start alongside Jack Ashton. He might just have a bit of a run for his money this time. Dominant win in the Metros in race 1 for Jack, but race 2 could be a very different situation. So, revs will start to rise. The green flag has been waved at the back of the grid. The last 15-minute race of the day about to burst into life. Red lights go on, out they will go after a fairly lengthy hold now. And is it going to be Keith Egar who leads? Yes, it is. Pretty much uncontested into Old Hall Corner. It will be the race 1 winner, Christopher Greenbank, who slots into 2nd. Carl Green and David Coulthard debating 3rd. It's Coulthard who sweeps around the outside, actually, to get ahead of the race 1 podium finisher, Carl Green. They all head down the avenue for the first time. The Metros, meanwhile, well, their race gets underway now. A brilliant start made from about row number 4 there by the 49 car of... who was that in 49 anyway? They've charged through the order. That was Garrett, wasn't it? In the green and yellow car, who's up into maybe 3rd place. He is into 3rd place as they round Old Hall for the first time. And it's Matthew Simpson, interestingly, who gets the lead. So Matthew Simpson gets ahead of Jack Ashton. I said that Jack might not have things all his own way in this race, and that is already the case as they drop down through Cascades for the first time. So Simpson leads the Metros, Ashton 2nd, and Richard Garrett up into 3rd.
Impressive start that, wasn't it? Red, I was going to say the lights, it was the flag for them, wasn't it? Read the flag beautifully, jumped away at the perfect opportunity then, gained loads of positions off that race start, but already top 2 breaking away. They're not even halfway through the lap yet and already making a sizable breakaway. Similarly here in the MGs as well, the top 2 pressing on ahead, just as you saw in race number 1. The same 2 have scampered off, this time from the front row of the grid though, and we'll see whether the number 19 can as easily side on by and break away from Igor as he did in race number 1. But again, amazing off those race starts. But as when I spoke to Igor after the first race, he was expecting that.
Yes.
And I think, again, he would have been expecting that. A lovely breakaway to begin with. And these two off into another postcode comparatively to the rest of the grid. Great start from both of them once more. Really, really driving this Oulton Park circuit well. And you can see there quite how much they've already cleared the rest of the field. End of lap number 1 then. And already this race kicking into gear.
It is indeed. So the midget and the MGF continue to battle for the lead. Didn't take Greenbank long to get back ahead of Igor in race 1, so it'll be interesting to see whether Keith can put up a bit of a sturdier defence this time. Speaking of, Matthew Simpson's defence will have to be fairly sturdy at the head of the MG Metro grid because he's got the race 1 winner and the former champion Jack Ashton all over him as they drop down into Lodge Corner for the first time. Simpson defends the inside line and Ashton will try and go from the outside on the way in to try and cut back to a late apex and carry the speed over the timing line, which he does. Is there going to be an opening on the inside at Old Hall Corner? Well, Simpson's going to have to defend a little bit, and that could compromise his exit speed if he does so on the run down the avenue. In fact, no, didn't defend in the end on the way in. Got a bit sideways over the apex curve, though. And Jack Ashton will have loved seeing that because he'll be thinking he might be able to force a bigger mistake out of Matthew Simpson. Down through Cascades for the second time. Jack Ashton really rolling through the centre of the corner nicely, gets right onto the tail of Matthew Simpson, but almost too close there, robbed him of any real momentum going down the Lakeside Straight, and Simpson actually gaps him slightly as they head towards Island Bend as they disappear out of shot. Coming over the hill were the MG Cockshoot Cup leaders. They were absolutely nose to tail, Igor and Christopher Greenbank. Greenbank, I think, shaping up for a move maybe on Igor as they made their way down towards the Hislop chicane there.
As you mentioned, didn't take him too long to get it done in race number 1. It's taking him a little bit longer in this one. Sizing up a mood there out of Knickerbrook, but not able to quite get the power down enough here to pull alongside up into Druids. Over Clay Hill they go, of course, and now down into Druids once more. Still as they were then, nose to tail between these two. And what is the gap after lap number 1? It was over 7 seconds already with Igor and Green back ahead of Coulthard and Green. Those still pretty close together. Only a second between the two of them as looking to the inside line there into Lodge Corner was the 19 of Greenbank. But again, can't quite get alongside and can't quite get the move done. If Igor's able to keep ahead throughout this entire race, I will be mightily, mightily impressive. He's trying to make that midget as wide as possible, which is easier said than done. It is called a midget.
Yes, it doesn't fill the road, does it? Although an MGF isn't that sizable either.
No.
It's very much the more modern equivalent of the midget. Good exit there for Greenbank out of Old Hall Corner, but there's no way through into Denton's. Yeah, the midget makes the MGF look like a tank, doesn't it, in comparison? But neither of these cars are that big, neither of them are that heavy. They're both very agile, and it's the midget that perhaps is getting off the corners slightly worse than the MGF, but then has the legs slightly in a straight line. This, meanwhile, for the lead of the Hit for Construction Limited MG Metro element of the race, and it still is Matthew Simpson hanging on. I thought for all the world that Ashton was about to make the move then.
Yeah, Ashton had the inside line, didn't he? But clearly not quite as good of an exit there off the final corner as Matthew Simpson, and Simpson continues to hold on to the lead. Now, interestingly so, they're catching some of the drivers now from the MG Cockshoot Cup, so could this spice up the battle as well? Ashton's looking round the outside there, loses a little bit of grip there as he gets on the slightly damper side of the circuit, and look at that, loses that momentum all the way down the rest of the straight, and the lead has changed then in the Cockshoot Cup. Greenbank through on Igor. We didn't see it happen, but he's got the move done. Into the lead he goes, and now can Igor have a response at all, or will Greenbank settle into a rhythm here and press on? Let's wait and see. Here we look back to the leaders in the MGs though, and they've well and truly caught these back markers now. Will it be an easy overtake to get them past, or will they get in the way? Ooh, a little bit. They're just stuck in behind for now anyway. This could be an opportunity then for maybe if Matthew Simpson gets shuffled offline a little bit here. Could Jack Ashton just find a way to slip on by?
He had a good run out of Britain's, didn't he? But can't quite get alongside over Hilltop. And now, yes, they've got the, I think, Mark Bellaby car. No, sorry, 82 Helen Waddington MGZR to negotiate. And Helen just sort of hovers in the way through Hislops. This is really delaying Matthew Simpson. But Ashton's got really nowhere to go either. They're side by side through Knickerbrook Corner. And I think Ashton's going to lose out here. Simpson's got the right-hand side of the road. Waddington went left. And Waddington then has the power up the hill, so still not really getting out of the way, but then why should she? This is technically for overall position, and they're not really in her race. Through Druids they go. Simpson really late on the brakes and really late with that defensive move, but did just get across in front of Jack Ashton into the corner.
Yeah, that was nice from the two MGs, wasn't it? They realised they had to lick the stamp to get that move done, and they did through a very challenging corner there up at Druids, but they finally get the move done and get on past the yellow MG, then down through into Lodge Corner once more. Still just over 8 minutes left to go here at the final rest of the day, at the final race of the day, I should say, at the BRSCC season opener here from Oulton Park. I can't quite believe we've had so many races today. It's all gone so fast, Andy, but time flies when you're having fun, eh? So here we go, back through on another MG. This is on the 24 this time, and your race leader in the following class, able to get it on a slightly easier position than Ashton, so has gained at least a few tenths from that. But with the slipstream coming into effect down this next straight, I can only assume Ashton will close right back up to the bumper, and actually doesn't even need the straight. He's closed up through Cascades.
Yeah, Ashton's definitely quicker, but he just can't go anywhere, can he? Matthew Simpson's car is in all the right places for Simpson, all the wrong places if you are Jack Ashton. So this is starting perhaps to frustrate our race one winner within the Metros. A good decisive move through traffic. Oh, car off. And is that a Metro? I think it is a Metro. We didn't get number 72 through last time, which was the John Moore Metro. And yes, John Moore's car is red and white, I think. So John Moore off the road by the looks of it at Shell.
Oh dear, less than ideal. Well, yellow flag's out for the moment there. Not the easiest place to recover him from, to be honest. So we'll see how this one plays out. Still 7 minutes left to go in this one. Will they leave it under yellow flags down there, or will we see the safety car come out? We will wait with bated breath then to see what happens. Anyway, for the first time in this race for a little while anyway, these two of Simpson and Ashton have a little bit of clear air to play with as they continue to lock horns here as their battle continues. But as you mentioned, Ashton he's got good pace, but he just can't seem to find a way through, can he?
Yeah, his speed is through the middle of the corner, and that's great if you're trying to set a really good lap time. It's not so great if you're trying to overtake someone. He keeps kind of sort of rolling into the back of Matthew Simpson's car and then not getting off the turns as well. Oh, and he's lost it at Druids. Jack Ashton is off at Druids. There's oil on the track, isn't there? Because Simpson had a moment as well. That was big drama for Ashton. Great save in the end. Lucky no one was right behind him. But I wonder if there was a little bit of something on the road. Yes, more screeching of tyres. There is oil down. And that's a big spin for the 17 car now of Mark Wilson. He might not be the last.
No, indeed. Yep, clearly there's something down there. Drivers going off left, right and centre here. As we take a little look at the replay then for Ashton. See there, cart just drops on him there. As soon as he tries to turn in, the rear goes, absolutely not, son. I'm going round on you. Round he went. And like you say, what a fantastic catch as well to only lose a few seconds from that one.
Well, yes, and has anyone else now come a cropper of that up at Druids Corner, I wonder? Yeah, that is something to ask Jack about, I think, if he manages to get as far as the Parc Fermé area in a podium position. He is still second, but that's now really opened up the margin between himself and Matthew Simpson. Good Metro battle going on here meanwhile. In fact, that's the 17 car that we just saw having a spin of Mark Wilson. Nothing like recovering from a spin at one of the fastest corners on the track and then immediately having to defend a position. That's the 21 car, isn't it? Trying to find a way past him of Les Tyler. Chunks of earth falling from underneath that 17 car after its moment up at the far end of the circuit. That was scary stuff.
It was indeed. Yep, always. Well, we always say it's a tough corner anyway, let alone when someone's dropped some fluids down there. It makes it very, very challenging to press on through, but driver's done a very good job there to keep it out of the barriers. As we've said so many times today, those barriers very close here at Oulton Park, so driver's doing a very good job to keep the cars out of it. As this battle continues on then, David Coulthard and the 30 of Carl Green, so they've already switched around on this lap. As you can see, they're still the car wanting to snap on them there as they head through the corner. I think all of them have learned a little bit sketchy through there now, just being a little bit overly cautious. But these two switching around on the last lap. Then Coulthard up into the overall top three, but the 30 of Carl Green wants it back up the inside. He goes down at Lodge Corner and back into the top three.
Yeah, good move. Showed his nose in the hope that David Coulthard would sidestep out of the way, and he sort of did, didn't he, really? So then Carl Green was able to fully commit to the pass and reclaim third position. Remember, most of the MG Cockshoot Cup cars are entered into Class C this weekend, so they are both battling for class position. Back to the Metros. Well, Jack Ashton at the start of this lap was 4.3 seconds behind Matthew Simpson. He is now only a Metro's length or so adrift of the race leader. That just sort of underlines the pace advantage that Ashton's got. He's got the headlights ablaze now as well, and with 3 3/4 minutes still to go, he is absolutely back on the tail of the class leader, and we've got a fight on our hands once more for the win in the HIP Construction Limited MG Metro Cup here at Oulton Park. Ashton closes in. He's proven there he's got the pace, and now proves he's got the racecraft as well. Launches to the inside at Cascades and sort of out of nowhere there makes the move stick. Simpson though has ideas of coming back at him, does come back at him down the Lakeside Straight, and I think we'll have the lead again by the time they reach Ireland.
He does indeed, yeah. That time the mid-corner speed was the way of Simpson that time. Of course, a little bit slidey there, setting it on the inside line was Ashton. Lost that mid-corner speed and was able to or drop wide, and that just allowed for Matthew Simpson to scamper on back through. So impressive in and of itself that Jack Ashton has caught him back up there, but I think that just shows the overall pace that Ashton has over Simpson. He just can't find a way through. As there briefly we saw a slippery surface flag there going out. I can only assume that's up at Druids, but yeah, thank you, I heard that in my ears. Yeah, it is indeed up at Druids. I think we knew that already though, without the need of a flag, didn't we?
Yes, absolutely so. Now Ashton, with a much better run there out of Britain's, has actually got back ahead of Simpson here, I think. Simpson's trying to come back at him under braking into his lobs. He'll have to be very, very, very late on the brakes to beat Jack Ashton into the corner. They're absolutely side by side. Ashton doesn't want to give way, nor does Matthew Simpson, who still is on the inside line into Knickerbrook corner. This is terrific MG Metro racing. They're still side by side as they head now towards potentially a still quite slippery Druids corner. Matthew Simpson knows, I think, that if he allows Ashton to get in front and assert his authority on this race, that might be the last time he sees him. Well, hate to break it to you, Matthew, but that's exactly what might be about to happen. Jack Ashton through into the lead on the previous lap, was 4 seconds quicker than Simpson. That could be the race-winning move.
It could indeed. You still saw that bit of a wobble though through Druids for Ashton there. Still clearly a little bit slippery down there still, but lovely to see the racing between the two of them there. Lovely bit of room given, racing respect between the two of them. That was an epic battle, and now we've only got just over a minute and a half to go, and for the first time really in this race, Ashton properly takes the lead.
Yes, so has Simpson got an answer, or is this all that he's got? Through they go onto what will for them be the penultimate lap of the race, I believe. The overall race leader, remember, Christopher Greenbank, is 9.6 seconds clear now of Keith Egar, so a similar story really to what we saw in race 1. Once he got back ahead of Egar, he's been able to get away from him quite comprehensively. I think Ashton perhaps about to do the same thing to Matthew Simpson, although it's not coming all that easily to Jack Ashton, is it, as he almost understeered off the road there coming out of Cascades corner. The leader will be across the line shortly to begin the final lap, and Christopher Greenbank uncontested now at the head of the field. There is the third place battle, Carl Green and David Coulthard, still in that order. Carl Green then ahead of the 83 car of Coulthard, as they head around through the Hislop chicane into Knickerbrook corner and accelerate uphill over Clay Hill for the penultimate time. Another lap to go after this one then. Christopher Greenbank, in fact, has just gone through to start his final lap of the race in his MGF. Carl Green tips his way through Druids corner with David Coulthard behind him in the MGZR, which at one point was a hugely popular one-make series here in the UK, and used to get grids getting on for 30 cars with some pretty quick drivers racing in the MGZR Championship. Not quite as many of them out now, as spare parts have understandably become harder to get hold of, but good to have a smattering of the racing with us here at Oulton Park. And David Coulthard looking to try and get one of them onto the podium outright, but I don't think that's quite going to happen. Carl Green in the bigger saloon-shaped ZS looks as though he has an answer for him at the moment. They head down through Cascades. The overall race leader will be somewhere around the Hislop chicane. In fact, here he is into Britain's, and it is a fairly tentative run now through Britain's, in fairness, for Christopher Greenbank, who doesn't need to push too hard. He's 14 seconds clear, more than double the margin of victory that he had in race 1. Keith Egar, I don't know whether he's sort of managing some sort of issue, but he's definitely not as quick now as he was in the first race. And not able to get as close to Christopher Greenbank's pace. Christopher's best lap in this race is the fastest lap, 2 minutes 0.486, which is about half a second slower than what he did in race 1. Again, track conditions not quite as good as they were for the first race. Christopher Greenbank doesn't seem to mind. He got into the lead there after a couple of laps dicing with Keith Egar. Now he's been able to extend the margin and is 1 corner from home. Christopher Greenbank then, a double race victory is in the offing here. Same as it was, in fact, in the Modified Ford Series where we had a double race victory for James Allen. Christopher Greenbank is going to do the same in the MG Cockshoot Cup. Across the line he goes, and Christopher Greenbank takes the checkered flag and wins race 2 for the MG Cockshoot Cup here at Oulton Park. Keith Egar will come home some way later. It's not all over though in the Metros, is it? Matthew Simpson is staying with Jack Ashton here, and as they make their way down into the Hislop chicane for the final time, that's only a Metro's length or so between them. You can absolutely rest assured that if Simpson's close enough to have a go at this into Lodge Corner, I think he will go for it and try and keep Jack Ashton from claiming the double victory. Not sure if both of these drivers are doing the full season. I hope they are, because I think we could have a really interesting championship battle between the two of them. Matthew Simpson's getting quicker and quicker every season. We know how good Jack Ashton is, and I don't think he would have things all his own way if Simpson was around for the full year. Down towards Lodge Corner we go then. Headlights still ablaze on the Ashton car. There's no one in front of him. Instead, he's having to take a defensive line to keep Simpson behind him. Simpson with a slightly wider line in, looks to try and get the switch back on the exit of the corner. It will be a bit of a drag race to the line, but it's a drag race that I think Jack Ashton will win, or will he? They're side by side to the line. Almost a dead heat, but it will be Jack Ashton who hangs on to get the win in the MG Metro Cup over Matthew Simpson by just a tenth of a second. Brilliant stuff there from the Metros. The Hickford Construction Limited MG Metro Cup putting on a great show with some of the closest of the racing that we'd seen across both of our MG races today, and it is going to be a double win for Jack Ashton, but by a very, very narrow margin. And of course, bouncing back after that spectacular spin that he had up at Druids as well. Doubly impressive stuff. And Jack Ashton will be absolutely delighted to have claimed the win. And double victory for him, double victory for Christopher Greenbank as well, who wins in the Cockshoot Cup, wins Class C as well, therefore, in that element of the race. Keith Egar second, Carl Green third, David Coulthard fourth, and Laura Farrow fifth, all of them Class C cars. Class A won by James Johnson this time. It was Mark Bellamy who won race 1. James Johnson, though, gets the better of him in race 2. Bellamy was second in that class, 7th overall. Jack Ashton wins in the Hickford Construction Limited MG Metro Cup by a tenth of a second over Matthew Simpson, with Phil Rigby completing the top 10 overall. Tim Shooter was 11th and 3rd of the Metros, again going 2 better than he did in race 1 when it was 5th place for him and a 3rd place for Benjamin Young. Eliza Seville was 12th ahead of Benjamin Young, who was 13th and 4th in class, with Helen Waddington in 14th overall. 15th position then for Les Tyler, 16th Mark Wilson. Richard Garrard, I noticed, hasn't made it to the flag on the final lap in car 49, so may or may not be classified 17th. Andrew Houston, Jonathan McGaughan and Phil Goodwin complete the top 20 ahead of Emma Cross and the first of the retirees, Tim Davis, who managed only 4 of the 8 laps. It was also a retirement for John Moore, while Stanley Dixon and Leon Wignall both failed to make the start. So, an exciting final race of the day, and the MGs have put on a good show for us with a good grid and some good battles across the various classes.